live on your tablet, phone, and the KUTV app. This is 2 News Live.
Thanks for joining us on 2 News Live. I'm Brian Schnee. It is Monday, August 28th, going in depth tonight on the race for Congressional District 2. Chris Stewart is retiring, so who will be voted into Congress to represent Utah? We've got a while before we get there, but before we dive in, here's a look at what is making headlines tonight. Right now, you can see them on our website, KUTV.com. The University of Utah confirming that a high-profile athletics program is under review. It is the program you see on your screen here. There's allegations that head gymnastics coach Tom Farden emotionally and verbally abused athletes. A quick tip of the hat for reporting to the Deseret News, who put this out within the last 24 hours. We now know the names of 2 teens arrested in a crash. It happened Friday in Salt Lake City. Police say a 19-year-old Liam Kavanaugh and Nicholas Calbier were speeding on 6th South when they hit a Kia, sending 3 occupants to the hospital. You can read more about this on our website, KUTV.com. Right now, Utah County Attorney's Office also joining the investigation that the FBI shooting resulted in a death of a Provo man. We've been telling you about this from the day that President Biden arrived here in Utah. They're trying to determine whether or not 75-year-old Craig Robertson's death was justified. Mind you, we've got plenty of prior reporting on this on our website as well. Tomorrow, bring your talents. The Utah Jazz are holding auditions to find national anthem performers to sing before games at the Delta Center. If you're interested, you must register in person at the Delta Center. Auditions begin at the arena bright and early, 9 a.m., so warm up those pipes. As we go in depth tonight, use the hashtag 2NewsLive. You can join us any point during the program by using that hashtag to join our conversation. You can always find us on Facebook, Twitter, and Instagram. Send us a direct message, any of those platforms to weigh in. Let's go in depth. A new poll shows that just with over about a week left, the election to replace Congressman Chris Stewart is nowhere close to be decided. Much of that due to a massive group of some undecided voters. A Deseret News Hinckley Institute poll showing former state lawmaker Becky Edwards is leading the way. We're hoping to talk to Daniel Woodruff here in a few minutes about this. He's been diving into this to take a look at the poll, at the survey. Hope to have Daniel here in just a few minutes. But we did talk to a number of other people here as we continue to go in depth. Heidi Hatch recently spoke to one of the 3 candidates. Let's hear from Bruce Hoff.
What's the number one thing you're hearing from voters?
I think the number one thing really is the economy. It's the old kitchen table issue, right? It's, inflation is up, interest rates are up, energy prices are up, and what do? We are a family that's on a budget. We aren't getting pay increases to match what's happening in the economy, so how do we make ends meet?
So if you were to go and wave your magic wand or use your congressional seat if you were elected, what would be something that Congress could actually do to make a difference and try to roll back some of these prices that people are seeing, how much we're paying at the pump?
And really, a couple of things can happen here. The only reason energy prices are up is because the president used executive orders to change the way energy was going to be delivered in this country. And as a consequence, we've more than doubled energy prices. The Congress actually has all the power. It is the power of the purse. It is the ability to fund and defund. It is also the power to take away certain executive powers that the president had and has used to the detriment not just of this country but specifically of this state. A good example is setting up monuments on the whim that actually have an impact on our state even though the monument is outside the state.
Bruce Hoff, Celeste Malloy, Becky Edwards. Those are the 3 we're focusing on really today. Make sure to listen to Heidi's Take 2 podcast. She talks about all sorts of political issues and events happening in the state of Utah. You can find it KUTV.com, iTunes, Spotify, or wherever you get your podcasts. Let's go back to that poll, focusing on where things are right now. They're talking about replacing, of course, Congressman Chris Stewart. So what are the numbers looking like right now? What does this poll have to do with? Who was surveyed? Let's get to our Daniel Woodruff, who has all the answers to this. Daniel, this is about some of these numbers here that we're seeing. Becky Edwards, Bruce Hoff, Celeste Malloy. Daniel Woodruff joining us now. Where are these numbers coming from, Daniel?
Well, this is a poll from the Deseret News and the Hinckley Institute of Politics. It showed Becky Edwards, the former state lawmaker, with 32% in this race. Bruce Huff, the Republican National Committeeman, with 11%, and Celeste Malloy, who worked as counsel and as staffer for Congressman Stewart, at 9%. But I think the big thing that everyone took away from the poll was not necessarily just that Becky Edwards was in the lead at the time the poll was conducted, but that there are 47% of voters, Republican voters in the 2nd District, who said they are undecided at this point who they want to support.
Now, Daniel, does that mean 47% when we're specifically talking about Republican Party members, or as a general whole, folks that might have a Democratic sort of point of view for the upcoming election?
This is registered Republican voters in the 2nd District who are likely to vote. So the Hinckley Institute polled 471 of those people, and it took them about a week. It was from August 7th to August 14th. So the poll results do have that snapshot of time there. And in fact, one campaign, Bruce Huff's campaign, criticized the poll for that very reason, saying that he believes the race looks much different today than it did back then. But the Hinckley Institute says this is a poll that was conducted with a lot of effort to try to get a very good idea of where the race stands, and they're standing by the results.
Daniel Woodruff live for us tonight, breaking down some of this latest data, where it's coming from, who was voting, and taking a look at this poll. Daniel, as always, we appreciate you. Earlier this last couple months, we really wanted to know what the deal was going forward with District 2. I had the opportunity to talk to Chris Stewart, not once but twice. We talked about what's going on, obviously, in his personal life to cause him to step away. At the end of the day, this is a special election. This is all happening because of his decision to step away. But we did ask him about some of the candidates and if he's endorsing anybody. Take a listen. When you do leave, we're trying to find a good fit to represent the district with an upcoming election. You've endorsed Celeste Malloy, who serves as chief legal counsel for your office. Why did you throw your endorsement behind Celeste Malloy?
Well, and I have to be careful in answering that question because, you know, I'm representing in an official capacity tonight, and I can't, comment on active campaigns because of that. And I'll just simply say there's a lot of great people in the race. I think this, some of them would be extraordinary congressmen. I really do. I think Celeste is among those who would be a great person to represent the 2nd Congressional District.
So obviously, when talking about elections, you want to talk to the chief elections officer. That is what we did when it comes to this specific race. We talked to Lieutenant Governor Deidre Henderson. She talks about a number of things in our conversation from this very show about a month ago. You can find that on our YouTube channel if you go to the live section and find this interview. But we also talked to her about part of these candidates, specifically Celeste Malloy, that was involved in a lawsuit regarding her sort of legality to move forward in this progress. Before we move along here, obviously there's been a lot of conversation about what happens in that 2nd Congressional District seat after Chris Stewart leaves in September. There was a lawsuit that involved, or at least some back and forth. Where are we now with that? Is everyone cleared to move forward? Is everyone in good standing where we can just get the names on the ballot and the people can decide?
Oh, absolutely. In fact, the names are already on the ballot. Ballots are going out next week. On August 15th is when ballots will be mailed. Early voting will start. People can start turning those ballots in for the primary election. Right now we've got 3 candidates who will be in a Republican primary. We've got Bruce Huff, Celeste Malloy, and Becky Edwards. And that election will occur on September 5th.
Well, let's continue to go in depth on this topic, reminding everyone that this is about a week out now. So if you are voting in this, you can use this to do a little bit of homework, but also ultimately go on some of these candidate websites, listen to some debates to decide who you'd like to vote for. We did talk to the governor. By we, I mean everyone really that gathers as members of the media. The governor holding a monthly news conference a few weeks ago, and he was asked about the District 2 race.
I won't be making an endorsement in that. I know all three of the candidates very well. I've worked with all three of them. They're all good and capable people. I certainly have a preference, and I would just say that I would love to have some representation off of the Wasatch Front. I'm a rural guy. I'm from south of that kind of Payson-Dixon line, as we refer to it sometimes, and we don't have a member of Congress who's lived south of there. So, obviously that sounds like I'm endorsing someone. I just think it's good to have some representation off the Wasatch Front once in a while. And we have one candidate who lives off of there, but this is not an official endorsement. That's more of just a rural geography thing that I think is important. I think all of them could actually do the job. And I'm friends with all three of them. Bruce is a great guy. He's represented the state very well as the national committee man for a long time. I served with Becky in the legislature and had a great relationship with her as well. And so they're all very capable, and I think we're very lucky to have three candidates who are just that capable. Celeste, having worked with Congressman Stewart, she can hit the ground running faster than anybody else. She's been involved in all of the issues. I mean, she's literally worked in that office and is unbelievably talented. And so it kind of depends on what people are looking for. I think we're very lucky to have three wonderful candidates.
Well, you heard it there, no official endorsement, but then there was a little bit of movement around who perhaps the governor may or may not like to see there. The election right around the corner, Tuesday, September 5th. Special election day for so many. Polls opening 7 a.m. They close at 8. Here's how you can, of course, vote. You can deliver your ballot to a secure drop box. You can use the clerk's office or any polling location in your county. You should be able to find a lot of that information by easily heading to a website. You see it there, vote.utah.gov. As always, you can register in person to vote. You can vote on election day. A lot of people are traditionalists and love to do just that. It's the last day, reminding everyone September 5th is the last day to postmark your ballot via USPS. So if you wonder why it takes a little while to count those votes, it's because some of you are mailing them in and postmarking them on Election Day. Continuing to go in depth on this here on 2 News Live, I spoke with former Utah Governor Gary Herbert, now partnering with Utah Valley University for the Herbert Institute of Public Policy. Here are Governor Herbert's thoughts on the District 2 race and where things stand right now.
I think it's a special election. It's special for a lot of reasons. It's off cycle, so that's one reason. And with the resignation of a very popular Congressman, Chris Stewart, and three kind of newcomers coming to the forefront, that's unique in that regard too. We've got a more seasoned veteran in Becky Edwards. She's been in the state legislature for a decade. Ran for the United States Senate here a year ago. Bruce Huff, who's been a national committee man, head of the Republican Party for a couple of different terms, good, successful businessman. He's got his uniqueness. And then Celeste, who worked for Congressman Stewart, is from the southern part of our state and really kind of a grassroots efforts on her part. So all of them have got good stories to tell. It'll be interesting to see how people vote here in a week.
What do you think that district needs in terms of representation? What are the issues that are maybe specializing for that district? I know it's just big geographically too.
Well, I think that the issues they have in the second district are the same of the other districts too. There's not a lot of difference. They all kind of have a pinwheel configuration. So a little bit of the urbanized areas and a lot of the rural areas combined. Certainly, the public land issue has been one of the issues that have been featured in the discussions and the debates between the three potential candidates. How do we manage them correctly? How do we, in fact, under the BLM charter, which requires multiple use, how do we optimize that, make sure that we preserve and protect, be good stewards of the earth, and yet extract the minerals and deposits we have there that help us certainly going into the future? And how about our agricultural business that's out there? Tourism and travel. So that's a big issue. Economic development into the rural parts of the state's a big issue, always has been. We as a society in Utah and across the country, have become more urbanized with our economic growth and development. And that's where the jobs tend to be at. So that, education, are probably some of the biggest issues. And we have had good representation in the past. I would expect that to continue in the future.
Do you, in your role, have an endorsement on this race?
I don't yet. Doesn't mean I can't, but I'm a little reluctant to be an endorser of the three candidates. I know them all. I've met with all three of them. They're wonderful people, all, I think, well qualified to be a good congressperson. But as the head of the Herbert Institute, I'm probably more desirous of staying neutral. They're all friends of mine, and so there's reasons there. But the Herbert Institute, we need to be impartial and neutral in our assessment of what's taking place in the political arena. It'll be interesting to see what takes place. I know there's some polling out there, but it's a little early in the polling cycle. I'd like to know more about the polling and who are more likely to show up and vote on this kind of a special unscheduled election at a different date and time than we've had in the past. And again, don't forget there's an election in November, which will bring in others, including the Democrat, to see who's going to make the finals and who's going to win in November. So still a lot of time to talk about politics and see what happens. And I wish them all the very best.
All right, we want to hear from you at home. If the special election for Congressional District 2 was held today, not about a week from now, who would you vote for? Scan the QR code on your screen to weigh in. You know what? It seems as most of you are in line with some of the polling numbers that we had earlier that Daniel was talking about. Not exactly, right? We've got a different sort of view from some of you here at KUTV2 News. I imagine not all of you voted in the Hinckley Deseret News poll, but look at those numbers. They're pretty consistent. So if you'd like to weigh in, scan right now and weigh in. We see those numbers are changing, so we know y'all are watching. We appreciate you. Let's go to weather, though, because I'm always curious when we're talking about a depression, hurricane, a system, right? Florida's Gulf Coast bracing for a tropical storm. Do you see the name there? The storm is expected to make landfall Wednesday morning. Major hurricane with winds stronger than 110 miles per hour. Storm surge warning in effect. Surges 7 to 11 feet above ground level expected in some of those areas. So my sister went to college in Florida. We moved her down there from New England. And then her first semester, she had like 5, 6, 7 large-scale storms, tropical storms, hurricanes. Right. So we very quickly became familiar with what can happen. I became an expert overnight, mind you, like most of you on social media, by looking at things and seeing what can happen when these things move into
well, people
Florida.
have friends and family in Florida, so people want to really pay attention to these storms.
Well, can you first say the name?
Idalia.
Idalia, okay. So I'm always curious as to where the names come from.
Sterling just Googled it, though.
Yes.
And it's Greek for,
Greek.
What was it again? Something about the sun.
Sun, yes.
Not going to bring a whole lot of sun.
No, not going to bring sun. But
Idalia.
I'm always curious about the names. I mean, these can be major storms that can really impact life, livelihood, infrastructure, and can completely ruin not just your day, but communities and towns. So what are we looking at here?
Well, first of all, you know the Gulf of Mexico is very, very warm right now. I mean, temperatures are from 85 to 90 degrees, so that is fuel for these hurricanes. It's right off the coast of Cuba. It is still a tropical storm. It is not a hurricane, but that's going to change here really shortly because wind speeds are at 70 miles per hour. So stay with me, Brian. It's moving towards the north, but it is forecast to become a major Category 3 hurricane sometime Tuesday afternoon into early Wednesday morning.
Okay, so it's going to hit part of the panhandle here.
Correct. It has shifted a little bit to the west, so that is slightly good news for, say, Tampa. They're not in the cone of uncertainty anymore. However, they're still on the east side of a hurricane, and that brings all that storm surge to the west coast of Florida.
How much can this change in a matter of a couple hours?
It can still change. I mean, we're still a couple days out from the exact landfall, but the cone of uncertainty has become a little bit thinner, so there's a lot of high probability of where it might actually land. But there's still going to be a lot of wind, a lot of rain, a lot of storm surge. And then, not done yet, portions of Georgia could have a Category 1 hurricane inland, so Gainesville, Jacksonville, and then portions of South Carolina as we head into Thursday.
Mind you, you've got something really sticky behind you.
I know. Well, I mean, this is another hurricane.
That's amazing.
Franklin right now. It is a major hurricane at the moment, but the good news, it's going away. So it's not going to have an impact on the U.S. coast.
And just quickly, before you get to your forecast, it just mentioned the importance of these tropical storms, hurricanes on the other side of the country. There's people here that obviously have family, friends, connections. So you're going to keep people updated throughout the next couple days here?
Yeah, all week long, because it could impact us because of course, Salt Lake Airport, flying to Florida. Maybe you're going to Disney World. There's going to be a lot of cancellations and delays because of the system. So what's new is that we have now hurricane warnings in effect for the Gulf Coast of Florida from Tampa because of that storm surge and potentially some wind and some rain. But also, again, the east coast of Florida, we have tropical storm watches, and even inland, we have some hurricane warnings and hurricane watches. So this is going to be a big deal, especially beginning late Tuesday through Wednesday and maybe even to Thursday as it lingers. Here in Utah, though, got to get to our forecast. We don't have anything too exciting at the moment, but that might change later in the week. Tonight will be in the upper 60s. Tomorrow will be in the upper 90s. If we hit 99, that's going to tie a record high. So it looks pretty toasty tomorrow. Across the state, lots of 90s across northern and central Utah with triple-digit heat towards the south. It's going to get windy, though, because of our next weather maker and this cold front that's going to be sliding in on Wednesday. So winds out of the south, you know the drill, gusty 20, 25 miles per hour. Now, the main part of the storm stays north of Utah, so that's where the rain will be over the next 24 to 48 hours. But the cold front slides in. By Wednesday, we'll be cooling things off just a bit, about 10 degrees. And then we got some maybe monsoon moisture surging in beginning on Thursday, especially down in southern Utah and in the mountains. But some of that moisture will make it into northern Utah. There's a developing storm system. We have our rain chances, and they're going up, especially towards the end of the week and into the weekend along the Wasatch Front. 30% chance on Friday, 40% chance on Saturday, and that might be a little conservative at the moment. There's still a few days out. Things could change, but it does look quite active as we head into the holiday weekend. It is Labor Day on Monday. St. George, 104 for tomorrow and on Wednesday. Isolated storms Thursday, good chance for storms Friday and Saturday. There could be heavy rain and flash flooding, so keep that in mind. But look at the cool down. We're in the 80s as we head into the weekend and over Labor Day, which is below normal. Salt Lake near 100 tomorrow, windy, and then Wednesday is looking like a really nice day. It's a dry cold front, no rain. A few clouds Thursday, 92 degrees, and then here comes more storms for the Wasatch Front. Friday, Saturday, Sunday will be our wettest days, but we could even have another cool front sliding in and a few lingering showers and storms possible Monday morning. And Labor Day, 77 degrees. So big range, Brian, near 100 tomorrow, and then some mid-70s early next week.
It's the time of year, though. I mean,
it's September.
Well, you and I were just talking about snow before the program here. We were talking about resorts getting ready to go, some of the big moves. So, I mean, it's only natural we start to see the seasons change a little bit.
We're not going to stay in the 70s, but we start to see more of these ups and downs and not just all ups like we do in the summer.
All right. Thanks for watching 2 News Live. As always, we appreciate you being here with us Monday through Friday. Chase is back. We kicked him off the show.
I've been on the morning show for so long.
I know. Doesn't he look refreshed?
I'm happy. I'm sleeping.
He's ready to be back. We are back with you tomorrow. Have a great rest of your night. Take care.